It's been said before that humility is not thinking less of oneself, but thinking of oneself less. It's a slight variation in words there, but it makes all the difference, doesn't it? It's just that I don't think so much about myself all day long. Not that I think of myself as lower or less in my own esteem or in the esteem of others, but that I think of myself less. And when we do that, we're able to think about others more. St. Paul might be thought to be a little bit prideful in the way that he writes, especially as he says that he's become all things to all people. He is preaching the gospel to everyone, and it might sound like he's boasting. But he knows he is not. He is simply stating the facts that he's trying with everything he has to preach the gospel. And toward the end of this reading, he talks about how we are running the race and how he himself too runs this race. But he continues to push himself, his own body, his own soul, so that he doesn't become blinded by all that he's doing with preaching the gospel. Sometimes we as preachers of the gospel, we can be a little bit full of ourselves and we forget to look in the mirror and see, what do I need to work on? What is Jesus calling me to work on? How am I called to grow in virtue? How am I called to grow in relationship with Jesus? This is why Jesus says in the gospel today that we cannot remove the splinter in our brother's eye without first removing the wooden beam in our own. We have to be constantly aware of ourselves, knowing that we are called to preach the gospel with not only our words, but with everything that we do in our own lives. We want to be people of integrity, that when we go home, that we're not doing something different than what we've preached. And so we can look to the saints for help with this. St. Peter Claver was one of those saints who we celebrate today. He was what they call the slave to the slaves. He was a Spanish missionary who went to South America and he ministered to black slaves who came off ships for his whole life. And they were just the poorest of the poor. He ministered to their needs and then brought them the message of the gospel. He kept his eyes fixed on Jesus and he saw Jesus in each one of them. This is the kind of work we are called to do. By being totally focused on them, he also helped himself to continue to grow in virtue each and every day. May we do the same. May we not be people with these wooden beams in our eyes that cannot see our own faults, but keep our eyes fixed on Jesus so that we might serve others better and might serve God with everything that we have.